You would not believe the week that I have had. It is the Just Enough Trope podcast. I'm your host, Caliban, here to bring you all the news that's fit to cast in the world of nerdy entertainment. And let me tell you, I'm bringing you some news today. It's going to be finely cultured news, like a good cheese. A lot of these items are things that I wanted to talk about last week, but after trying and failing twice to record the show due to technical issues that have come out of nowhere, I know when I'm beat, I just gave up, and so I'll tell you all about it this week. Well, I am telling you about it right now, but I'll bring those news items to you. They're still relevant. They're still important. They're still interesting. And then, of course, the plan was last week to talk about the movie Pandorum for Craft Services. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's a good movie. There. Done. Did it. See the film. Does it have problems? Yes. The short sort of review is, if you like other movies that we've talked about before on the show, like Event Horizon, my favorite genre of space movie, the monster movie in space, this delivers. Ben Foster, a guy who, I don't know if you'd know him from anything, he's been in a couple things recently in some smaller films. From the nerd side, he was Angel in X-Men The Last Stand. Don't hold that against him. Does a pretty good job. He does a really good job, actually. He's very impressive. Dennis Quaid is in the film, and he is at his Dennis Quaidiest, which is always good. The female lead, Antje Trau, is very good in it as well. And so I say check it out. Go ahead. It's got a little Norman Reedus in it, too, if you like that. And if that sweetens the pot, go check out Pandorum. This week, in a kind of abbreviated version of Craft Services, I do have a film that I'd like to talk about. It is not a good film, and so we are back on track as far as that goes with Craft Services. But it is a film called The January Man from 1989. Why would you do this film? Why would you do a film that Roger Ebert, gave 1 star out of 4? A film that is somewhere around, I believe, 21% on Rotten Tomatoes. Why would you do it? Well, I'll tell you. It is written by John Patrick Shanley, same guy that won an Oscar for writing Moonstruck. So that's a thing, I guess. It stars Kevin Kline, Alan Rickman, Susan Sarandon, Harvey Keitel, Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, and Rod Steiger. How could this film be bad? Stick around to find out. So, let's talk news. First off, let's talk Marvel movie news, both from Disney and from Fox Studios as well. There's a little bit that has come out today about some of the upcoming films on both companies' slates. I should probably save this for the end of the news segment because it's kind of a funny story. It's like where we like to stick those, although I've got one for the end of this segment. But Peter Dinklage is apparently being eyed for a mystery role in Infinity War. There is no real information beyond that. This came out a little while ago, this news item, and people have been speculating. I think I might have said on Twitter, but I'm sticking by it. Pip the Troll. He's playing Pip the Troll. I'm not doing a heightist thing. I'm just saying Pip the Troll is a sort of smoking, drinking, wisecracking kind of character who is a friend of Adam Warlock's and was very prominent during the Infinity Gauntlet saga back in the 90s in the comics. And I think that fits our Tyrion Lannister. That fits Mr. Dinklage well. The Dink? Do his friends call him the Dink? I'm going to call him the Dink, and he will tell me politely to stop. Other people have said things like MODOK or some dwarf guy, Ulrich the Dwarf or something like that. Anyway, I don't think that any of those are things that you would bring in. They are definitely looking to kind of paper up the cracks. Not that there are any in there. Everybody's going to be in this thing, but why not put a few more people in there just to top it off? And I think Pip the Troll would be a nice little character. You can throw him in wherever. He could even... He's a proven voice actor. That wizard is from the moon. So we know that he can do that. So maybe he could even give us kind of like a play-by-play of what's going on, do a little voiceover. I hope not, because I don't like voiceover. But he could maybe break the fourth wall or just kind of be the person that's filling us in on what the heck is happening when the In-Betweener and death and chaos and order all show up to fight Thanos or whatever's going to happen. That is my theory on that. Moving to the other side of the Marvel Universe, as far as movies go, looks like the New Mutants movie is on track and will supposedly feature Professor X, played by James McAvoy. Anya Taylor-Joy, star of The Witch, which if you haven't seen, you should definitely see, is going to be in the movie. We don't know who she's playing. I'm going to say Magic. She's short and blonde. Makes sense. And she kind of let it slip in an interview. I'm not sure if she was supposed to, that McAvoy is apparently on board. So that's interesting. I don't know. At this point, it kind of seems like the Fox X-Men universe is ramping down, especially with the tepid response to Apocalypse, Hugh Jackman just being done, and them doing one more film, which is speculated to be the Dark Phoenix saga for this next X-Men film starring the crew that we've got, whose contracts all run out in one film, by the way. Also, a little bit of news, side news in your news. The shooting schedule for that has been set up, and the film is codenamed Supernova. And anybody who listened to our comic book club show where we talked about Dark Phoenix Saga knows that a supernova is a big part of that storyline. So people think, yeah, this is confirmation. But anyway, back to the original thing. New Mutants, it is going to feature the Demon Bear saga, which I don't know how they're going to do in 2 hours. Don't put it to 3 hours because it's a 2-3 issue comic book. Might not be enough to fill a film, but we'll see what they do. And it does look like the entire team will be there: Mirage, Wolfsbane, Sunspot, Cannonball, Magic, and Warlock. So that is pretty exciting, I think. There is no word or release date yet, I don't believe, but they are working on it, and we'll see that pretty soon. And sticking with Marvel just for now, we're going to head over to TV. It looks like the Inhumans show, which is scheduled to come out on September 1st in IMAX theaters and then premiering on ABC on September 26th of this year, is proceeding apace. It starts shooting in March, and someone has leaked the call sheet for casting. Call sheet is what you put out saying, hey, we're looking for people like this, and like this to come read for these parts. Maybe you'll be on the show. And it seems to confirm what I think people have guessed, that this is going to feature the Inhumans royal family. The only problem is, it's not really a problem. It's actually not a problem at all. All the characters on the call sheet sound very familiar. Let me run a couple by you here. They're looking for Broderick, male, 30 to 40, Caucasian, can say volumes with just a look. What about male, 30 to 40, slight of build, his mind is his greatest asset. Okay. Christine, female, 18 to 25, Caucasian, soulful but learning the ways of the world. She has the arrogance of youth. She's devoted to her family. See how this is going? B, Broderick, Black Bolt. You've got Marjorie, Medusa, Marty's, Maximus. You've got Kevin, he's Karnak, Grady, Gorgon, on and on and on. Christine, Crystal. They didn't even try. They didn't even try with that one. And then Timothy is Triton, I guess. So that looks like, yeah, that's what we expect. It's going to actually feature them. That's cool. Here's something that I don't think is cool. And I guess it's just focus group and marketing, directed marketing. But you look at this, you've got Broderick, Marjorie. Why am I using their other names? I'm dumb. They're all Caucasian except for Gorgon, the Bull Man, and the Fish Guy. Oh, I'm sorry. Karnak can also be open. That's what open means instead of Caucasian. So you've got calls for male and female lead, and then the 18 to 25 to play 18 girl Caucasian. Everybody else, yeah, open. Why can't they all just be any race? What does it matter? This leads into something that I am frustrated about with this show. Not just because it exists. I like the Inhumans, but I think as anybody who's listened to this show knows in the past or just pays attention to news, this is like a hate baby. This is not a labor of love. This is being ground out. So I don't know. A lot of times good things can come from circumstances like that, but I don't know about this one. But anyway, they're all weirdos. Not to say that if you're not white, you're a weirdo, but it should be representative of a broad cast of characters, from all walks of life. So whatever. Here's the reason I think that it's all going to be good-looking white people, though, because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. recently had Ghost Rider on, or Ghost Driver, and he can only be on a couple episodes, and people were like, we loved him, why'd you get rid of him? We couldn't afford it. The effects are too expensive because he's on fire all the time. They're going to do a thing where it's going to be, yeah, okay, they've got these powers, but their hands are going to glow, or maybe once every, twice a season, they'll turn into like a giant bull monster or something. The rest of the time, they're going to be hanging out at Melrose Place or whatever, and it's just going to be this, WB, that doesn't even exist anymore, CW type show. I've never seen like the Vampire Diaries, but I assume that they probably just kind of simper at each other for like 45 minutes, and then maybe there's like 2.5 minutes of them jumping really high or biting somebody. Am I right? I don't know. That's what I think we're going to get out of this. And it's too bad because the Inhumans, the whole point is they are super weird. They're weirder than the X-Men. They're the weirdest you can get. So I'd really like to see them lean into that. And I don't know if it's going to happen. No word at this point on Lockjaw, but you just know he's going to be played by a cute border collie that'll one time transform into a giant monster dog. And in one more bit of TV news from the Marvel side, it looks like Marvel's Cloak and Dagger series on Freeform and the Runaways series on Hulu will both start filming next month. There's not a lot that we know about them at this point, but Freeform's Cloak and Dagger, and Freeform's owned by Disney. I didn't know that, but it's all in the family. They are filming in New Orleans, and Hulu will film in Los Angeles. It's interesting to note that the Runaways show is being run by Gossip Girl creators Josh Schwartz and Stephanie Savage. So hopefully they can bring that fun sort of... I know I just complained about teen shows. I watched Gossip Girl for a little while. It was okay. Hopefully they can bring that to their sassy teens in Runaways. What the hell? Let's do another movie story. It comes from Disney still. Lucasfilm has made it official that Woody Harrelson is going to be playing the young Han Solo's mentor. And that's all we know. This was rumored a couple weeks ago, and people were thinking, could this be true? Turns out, yes. Woody Harrelson is, I think he's having a career renaissance. We don't talk about the Harrel-Ment, the Age of En-Harrel-Ment. How about that? He has been in a lot of stuff. And, of course, he did the Hunger Games films, and he's shown that he's no stranger, doesn't shy away from doing genre work. So, hey, bring it in. Do you think Woody famously, although he's downplayed it, I think, in recent years, loves the marijuana leaf? And do you think that he heard that there was an opening on a Han Solo movie, and he thought, hey, Harrison Ford is a big stoner too. This would be like our Pineapple Express, like Pineapple Jello Express for these two old guys. They can go off and make this fun movie. And then he shows up and he's like, who's this kid? Oh yeah, no, it's the young Han Solo. So hopefully Woody will still have fun on the set. One little note about a DC film, Little Town of DC, How Still We See Thee Lie. But they're still coming. They got Justice League coming. They got all these things coming. And, of course, Wonder Woman comes out this year. Wonder Woman will feature Ares as the main villain. That has been something that's been speculated. They've managed to keep it secret up to this point. We don't know his actual sort of involvement, I guess, at this point, but it does sort of confirm that except for moving the action of the film from the more traditional World War II to the World War I, which I think is a good move, it will probably play out kind of what we expect from our post-Peresian Wonder Woman and Themyscira. Amazons enslaved by Ares, they free themselves, the Themyscira retreats from the world, and they live in paradise, and then eventually she has to go into man's world as an ambassador, and that all tracks. So it's good to know that they have not changed too much there. This was actually leaked by a French publication called L'Etoile Heroics. Sorry about that, the pronunciation. And it's funny because they got it from Studio Ciné Live, which I assume is a French entertainment show. And then I picked the story up on CBR. So you have a French magazine or blog getting it from a French TV show, translated probably through Google Translate to CBR, and then just some tired or drunk editor writing up. You should read this. It does not read very well. It reads like it's been translated 3 or 4 times. But anyway, you can get the gist of it from what I said before. So looking forward to that. And it's interesting to note that Warner Brothers did not comment on this story with CBR. So is that a confirmation? I don't know. Maybe. Possibly. The movie comes out June 2nd, though, and of course we'll have a review of that when it comes out. But not now. Later. And one more quick note before we move on. Everybody always wants George R.R. Martin to write faster. But he has said that his highly anticipated book, The Winds of Winter, should be out this year. Now, he's said this before, and look, I don't begrudge the gentleman anything. He's brought us a lot of good stuff, and it's not like he's just sitting around eating bonbons when he's not writing. Like, he is doing all kinds of charity work. He's writing other stuff. He's had some wild cards, come out again this year or recently, and so he's always working on stuff. He's doing stuff for the TV show. Fine, take your time, I say. Make it good. But supposedly it is going to come out this year. He said in response to a comment on his LiveJournal blog, give him a break. He's older. I'm surprised it wasn't Facebook. He does say, it's not done yet, but I've made progress. Not as much as I hoped a year ago when I thought I'd be done by now. I think it will be out this year. And then he adds himself in a parenthetical, but I thought the same thing last year. So at least he has a sense of humor about it. But we are looking forward to it. I think we all are. The Winds of Winter. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it should be out this year. Of course, the 7th novel, A Dream of Spring, should be out somewhere around the heat death of the universe.
the January man who walks the road in woolen coat and boots of leather. The February man still shakes the snow from off his hair and blows his hands. The man of March, he sees the spring and wonders what.
All right, let's do just a little bit of some craft disservices. Our segment where we go through the films of yesteryear that the critics rejected, but the audiences held on to. Sometimes. I think I would have to dig pretty deep to try to explain to you. I don't think anybody remembers this film. I did for some reason. I don't know why. We were doing last in December a sort of Christmas movie / Advent / New Year sort of theme, and I thought, perfect, let's do the January Man in January. It begins on New Year's Eve, and a killer is stalking the streets of New York. And Kevin Kline's detective, his retired police detective, he's now a fireman, is brought out of retirement to catch this guy. And you think, well, it's a good setup. Kevin Kline, is it funny? Yeah, it's supposed to be. It's labeled as a thriller comedy. Those always do well. This did not do so well. I think I mentioned before it was a 21% on Rotten Tomatoes on the tomato meter. And even looking at the reviews, it's not good. And it's hard to find. Like, this thing just hit the water and didn't even leave any ripples or a trace. What I want to say about the film is that I enjoy a lot of personality in films. And it's clear that they thought that they were going to get by on the personality of their cast. Did I mention Danny Aiello? He's in this too. Who's the bad guy, you might ask? Nobody, but I'll get to that in a second. It does star Kevin Kline as this police detective, and you can tell what they were trying to do. This movie has a real throwback kind of feel to it. Maybe that's what John Patrick Shanley was going for. Again, I don't know, what version of his script made the screen. Like, if he turned this thing in, it's perfect. Say every word in this script, or he just, ran off a thing and then we got, plenty of other people worked on it. I don't know. But the point is that it's a throwback kind of film. It's supposed to be like a thriller. There's supposed to be there's banter. You can imagine Jimmy Stewart sort of slouching around Manhattan trying to catch this not very violent killer. It's not really that violent or scary, which is fine. But Kevin Kline is a retired genius, of course. He's an eccentric genius detective, but something went bad a little while ago. There's a subplot about police corruption that, of course, he's innocent of, but it doesn't really matter because it doesn't really come into play. So he's quit. He's working for the fire department now instead of the police department. And of course, the movie and the character, take the time to tell you that he still wants to be a hero. He feels like he can't save lives as a detective, so now he's going to save lives by pulling people out of buildings, and that works. And he's got a funny catchphrase. He wants a coffee, preferably an espresso. It's like, what is this, Hudson Hawk? But yeah, we'll do that someday at Craft of Services for sure. Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, who was like 23 or something in this film, also got married to Pat O'Connor, the director, so that worked out okay. He's about 25 years her senior. Kevin Kline's about 25 years her senior. And they kind of lampshade it by him calling it out. Like, they go to bed together almost immediately after meeting each other, which is stupid. And then Kevin Kline's like, what am I doing here? I can't do this. Yeah, but you kind of did it still. But anyway, her friend is killed. Heiresses and socialites, young women, are being killed by this strangler. And nobody can figure out what's happened. 11 murders have happened already. And it looks like he's, nobody can stop this guy. So Harvey Keitel, who is Kevin Kline's brother, he's the police commissioner, is ordered by the mayor, played by Rod Steiger, in what is a pretty good turn. It's a histrionic turn. There are a lot of people yelling at each other. And usually that's a bad sign. Anytime anybody's angry or upset about something, everybody just starts screaming. And it's really grating. But somehow, these are some good screamers. You got Harvey Keitel. When Harvey Keitel really starts getting mad, he's like, "Say the words! Say the words!" Like, there's a lot of that in this. And then, of course, Danny Aiello's good yeller. Rod Steiger's yelling at everybody. He's like a mean version of the mayor from Ghostbusters. And that's how this whole thing feels. It feels like an 80s character piece that's going for, like I said, a throwback kind of thing. And it doesn't quite make it, but it does have some charm. They go get Nick, the character played by Kevin Kline. And they bring him back. He doesn't want to come back. He comes back, though. And, of course, he's got all these crazy requests. He's living with, or at least he's good friends with Alan Rickman, who is a painter, who they never say he's gay. He's just very eccentric because, you can't be gay back then. You couldn't and be a hero in a film, I don't think. Or you'd be the guy from Mannequin. But anyway, he's there. He's probably the best part of the movie because he's extremely charming. What was this, like Die Hard 88, right? This is 89. He knows that something's on the line. He knows that he's trying to put a career together here. So he really shows up, and it shows. And they just kind of go through this kind of silly, I don't know, Sherlock-y kind of stuff. Oh, I was supposed to mention that Susan Sarandon is Nick's ex-girlfriend, now, of course, his brother's wife. And so she's sort of a destabilizing factor there. And he picks Mary Elizabeth over Susan Sarandon. That would be like a Sophie's Choice, I guess, for me. But maybe go with the age-appropriate one. I don't know. You hate your brother anyway. And what Nick finds out is that this guy is killing women because of prime numbers. Yeah. He orders a computer. I need the best computer. And, of course, it's like an Apple IIe looking thing because this is like the mid to late 80s. And somehow, of course, even though it's an Apple IIe, it can do that whole 3D computer thing like at the beginning of Escape from New York, when you see like, show me Lower Manhattan, show me in the wireframe. Okay, now give me the aerial view, and it's like doing all these things that computer probably couldn't do. Anyway, he uses it to figure out that the women were all killed on days that are prime numbers, and so he works out that we've closed out the month because 31, and so the next woman will be killed. I guess January 2nd. I don't know. Look, I'm not a mathematician. Probably January 2nd. He doesn't have a lot of time. And so they got to figure this out. And he also figures out that the women are all, this is so convoluted. I bet John Patrick Shanley was so proud of this, but it's so silly. They were all killed at a certain floor of their apartment buildings. So Kevin Kline gets a picture of the buildings. Then he puts like a dot, he puts a marker on the windows. And then he realizes, that looks like notes, like notation. So then he and Mary Elizabeth have a little scene that's kind of like the scene in Sneakers where they're playing with the Scrabble tiles and trying to figure out what the anagram is. Too many secrets. And they figure out that it's the notes for Calendar Girl, which is like, I think I probably could have figured that out. If you just said, I think the kill's using Calendar Girl. It's Calendar Girl. Yeah, okay, so there we go. That or 8 days a week, maybe. I don't know. And so they figure out if this is true, he's going to repeat the next part of this chorus, I guess. I don't know how they figure that out, which means that the woman that is going to be attacked will be attacked in this particular apartment. You see how this works. And so he goes there. They kind of stop him in a wacky way because, of course. And they get the guy, and it's not anybody. I mean, I think he's credited like at the end of the film because of like guild rules, but he's nobody. I was thinking, it's going to be Harvey Keitel in a wig because he's been, this mean asshole the entire time. It's nobody. And once again, the film tries to lampshade it by just saying, Harvey Keitel's like, who is this guy? And Kevin Kline's like, it doesn't matter. And I'm sitting there going, well, it kind of matters. Shouldn't it? I mean, I think it should kind of matter who it is. No, it doesn't matter. And in a really weird turn, the guy is in blackface. Like, he's clearly a white guy, but I think to disguise himself, he wears like a curly, like a Jerry curl wig, and there are a lot of kind of there's a whole social element of it, like this black guy killing rich white people that the movie I don't think it even knows it's doing a thing. It just goes right over that. And so anyway, Susan Sarandon has this canceled check that was, I don't know if she was keeping it or the brother was keeping it. But anyway, that was what the corruption probe was going around. She delivers it to Nick, so he's off the hook there. And she basically walks out on Harvey Keitel. So he's back in the clear. Will he continue at the police station? Nobody knows. But he gets his too young socialite girlfriend, who's the mayor's daughter. Did I say that? It doesn't even matter. She's the mayor's daughter. And that's the end. It's not particularly funny. It's not scary at all. And it doesn't really give you... It just has all these scenes that you would expect in other films. Like a better romantic film or a better thriller film, there's a scene where there's maybe a meet cute, or maybe you have a scene... There's a scene in this film where Susan Sarandon has to have... Nick's price to go back to work is to have dinner with his brother's wife, which is weird, but you're supposed to get that Kevin Kline is kind of weird and eccentric. I don't think Asperger's was a thing back then, but sort of like that. But it doesn't go to like the movie like Zero Effect, like Bill Pullman in Zero Effect. It's supposed to be that, but it's not really that. So she goes to have dinner with him. It's clear that she's conflicted. It turns into an argument, and it's supposed to be this kind of cute will they, won't they thing, and then it disappears. And there's a bunch of scenes like that. And it's just disappointing. I feel like this must have gotten made just off the names involved. Or maybe they had one more film on Klein's contract he wanted to get out of it or something like that. It only made about $4.5 million at the box office, which is horrible. It probably didn't cost too much more than that, but yeah, it's terrible. Roger Ebert, who, I don't always agree with, but he is pretty much the patron saint of critics. He called it one of the worst movies of all time. And we'll wrap this up. I'll just rip it off, but I am crediting him. He says it has worth as a study of a film that fails to find its tone because it's all over the map. It wants to be zany but violent, satirical but slapstick, romantic but cynical, and it wants all these things to happen at the same time. And I think that I would agree with that. It just doesn't work in any way. So big mistake. I don't think you knew that we were going to do it, so you didn't watch it, and I think that's a good thing. Because he didn't miss much. Well, speaking of portrayals of gay guys in the 80s, were we? Obliquely. Kind of, we are. I mentioned before Mannequin, and of course, Meshach Taylor playing Hollywood in Mannequin, the dearly departed and too soon departed Meshach Taylor. But it's the kind of thing where everybody loves the performer and the performance so much, they don't stop to think about whether it's really offensive or not. That's not what I plan to focus on next week when I talk about Mannequin. That's right. 1987's Mannequin, Andrew McCarthy in his full 3 weeks of star power. Also, Kim Cattrall and Estelle Getty are in that as well. It's a retelling of the Pygmalion myth. It did very well considering its $8 million budget. It made about $40 million, so not bad it's kind of like a small bet. But not well rated, 22% on Rotten Tomatoes, and yet I feel like I didn't see this movie as a kid. I saw it later. But I remember kids talking about it, and I remember it being a semi-big deal. And, of course, they did the sequel later on with Christy Swanson, which we're not going to talk about. We're going to stick to the main one, Mannequin, the inspiration for Mannequin 2. That's how I'll introduce it. Mannequin, the inspiration for Mannequin 2. And we'll be talking about it next week on Crafty Services.
October takes the reins and early frost is on his shoulder. The poor November man sees fire.
Well, thanks again for joining me. I am amazed that this show even happened. It's a regularly scheduled show, but kind of a makeup show as well. It's a 2-in-1, if you will, and thank God. I was convinced that something about something I was reporting, perhaps that Woody Harrelson story or that George R.R. Martin joke, was destroying my recorder in some kind of voice activated computer virus kind of way, a deadly meme, but I guess not. It did get out, unless of course it didn't, and you'll never hear this. So tune in next week for more news from the world of nerdy entertainment, and until then you can get more news and reviews of nerdy things by going to Twitter at Just Enough Trope, or at Facebook at Just Enough Trope on Facebook at our Facebook page. Also, you can find us on iTunes. If you go to iTunes, search for Just Enough Trope, you can find our show. While you're there, subscribe. That's the best way to get the show. It comes to you immediately, and that applies to other platforms like Stitcher, Spreaker, our new podcasting host. Wherever you get the show, hit that subscribe button. That way it comes immediately, if it comes at all, if the equipment hasn't given out on me or is protesting and killing itself in protest. And leave us a review on one of those platforms, because we love hearing from the fans. We love hearing how you think we're doing. It means a lot to us. And give us a rating when you're there. When you give us a high rating, we move up in the ranks. No matter what platform it is, they know we're doing a good job. We get more exposure, and we can bring more things to you. So give us 5. You're not gonna die. You're not gonna die. Or just give us 5 stars. I guess I'd appreciate that too. I'm going to sign off for now. I'll see you on our next show. This is your host, Caliban, saying, keep the geek fires burning.